Hello there, and welcome back to Napalm's newest news. Today, in this dev blog, we have the SMS Westfalen. So this is the first dev blog presenting one of the first generation Dreadnoughts. And this one will be very controversial in many aspects. But let's talk about this ship in particular and not where it then will stand in the future, as we will not exactly know what Gaijin brings into the game with which statistics for every nation so far, and we have to wait for the dev server, etc. You can find the link to the dev blog in the video description down below as usual. So let's dive into it. This was the first generation of German dreadnoughts. It was the Nassau class in the late 1900s. And they were not really that good for what they should have been when it comes to the real-life performance in many aspects, when it comes to the guns, when it comes to the propulsion, etc. But they still, did reasonable. The thing that is also very controversial is that the Nassau class has 12 28 centimeter or 11-inch guns, SKL-45 for the specialists amongst you, split into 6 twin turrets spread across the ship in an unusual hexagonal arrangement. So this is very important and will obviously lead into very controversial discussions, because for a game that has pros and cons, in reality it was more of a downside. First of all, you can only have an 8-gun broadside, which will be amongst the weakest for all the dreadnoughts that were presented in the trailer. On the other hand, you will have probably the strongest head-facing broadside, if you can call it. As you can see, forwards you can bring 6 guns to the front and 6 guns to the rear, and even if you have enemies on both sides, you still can engage one side with 8 guns and the other side, depending on how you manage your guns, with still up to 4 guns. While you also have really good secondaries. You have here 12 secondary 15 centimeter secondaries. So you can imagine they are on the scale of the main battery of the Emden, but you have 12, so 6 per broadside. So you have an Emden thread to each side of this dreadnought, and as a tertiary battery, 14 88s. They will not just, saturate the area with shell fire versus patrol boats and small destroyers, but also double function, hopefully, as heavy AA. However, it is debatable if they will get flak shells and how effective they will be. What is completely missing, however, as far as I can understand, is light AA. No 20s, no 37s, and also no 40 millimeters to kind of threaten patrol boats and planes in their end approach. So the thing is also the protection, and this is where the ship also shines. Now, for the first generation dreadnoughts, a distributed armor scheme was the usual meta to go with. And this is the main belt on its thickest part, which is around about here, is 300 millimeters. The conning tower, the bridge so to speak, is 400 millimeters, which is very good because this will protect your steering capabilities. And still 11 inches or 280 millimeters of main battery turrets, and I hope also for the barbettes. So you will lose a turret more often than your actual citadel gets breached, and if you go bow in, you're narrowing down the hitting area and also present more tougher armor, while the belt is also angled and still have a good portion of your firepower. So this will be a very controversial ship when it comes to the direct comparison with the other battleships. On the other hand, what it will also have in common is a rather low speed of around about 20-21 knots. So that's between 35 and 40 kilometers. As you can see, this ship is at the lower end of the spectrum, and also the acceleration will not be the greatest. When it comes to dealing with aircraft, let me come just back to this. I discussed this with a video recently with Drachinifel, to which you will also find the link in the description down below. This ship has no real turret, no real torpedo protection system. This ship has no good AA, so everybody will try to take a bite off you with torpedoes, with bombs. You have very bad defense versus aircraft, and also if somebody on the enemy team just drops a wall of skill, aka the long lances, in the water, you don't have the speed to dodge them, maybe the maneuverability because you're relatively short compared to, you know, modern battleships of the World War II era, but you won't get out of the region. So if somebody just drops all the long lances in the spawn, you know, in the enemy spawn, you just don't have the time to react to them or to really get out of their harm's way. Now this is what I hope Gaijin will address with hopefully a redesign of their maps. We'll have to wait for that. And other than this, you can read the rest of the dev blog for yourself. It has an interesting history, interesting how they did in the Battle of Jutland, etc, etc. There is also a 5-minute guide by Drachinifel. Maybe if I don't forget it, I'll link that as well in the video description down below. And that's it for this informational video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you want to see more. You also can subscribe, and, you know, we'll see each other on the waves of War Thunder.